All right, good morning. We're about to tape episode 4 of the Good Bites radio show, and I have Chef Erik Hinds and Anna Ortiz with me today from The Traveler.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Good Bites radio show. This food-focused show highlights the people that bring delicious food to us, some of the food happenings in Northwest Indiana and beyond, and the ways that food brings us together. I'm Carrie Steinweg, and I'm your host. I'm the co-founder of the Chicago Foodie Sisters radio blog, or food blog, and author of Unique Eats and Eateries of Indiana from Reedy Press. I'm also working on the next book, Unique Eats and Eateries of Illinois, to be released in the fall of 2026. This show is brought to you by Albano's in Valparaiso. Thanks to Pasta Daddy Nick Albano for his support. And our intro music is provided by the talented Vernell Scott. And I'm excited to introduce today's guests. We have Erik and Anna from The Traveler. And The Traveler is a unique independent culinary business launched in Northwest Indiana by Erik Hinds and Anna Ortiz. The couple partners with the museum at Lassen's Resort to offer the culinary anthropology program, and they also run the pop-up kitchen at the Zombie Club in historic downtown Crown Point. So Erik and Anna, thank you so much for being our guests today.
Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for making the trek out from Cedar Lake to come be with us today. And why don't we just start off by hearing a little bit about your background in the food industry.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, I've been in the industry for quite a while now. Since I was basically 15, was my first job at an Aurelio's in Lowell. And pretty much
Good place
been,
to start.
yeah, basically been cooking ever since. I've done lots of things. I've been a chef of a food truck down in Ball State University. I've been chef of Off Square Brewing in Crown Point, also Tavern on Main, Twin Cade in Griffith.
That was you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a little while.
Twin Cade, that was a cool place.
Yeah, that was quite an experience. That was quite a time in our lives.
Really good food.
Yeah, well, at least when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, just made my rounds around the area, and then got to the point where I was, I just wanted to do it on my own. So we did. And couldn't have done it without, Anna by my side. And yeah, ever since we struck it out on our own, it's been nothing but success.
Wonderful. And Anna, I know we have like the journalistic background in common, so tell me a little bit about what you've been doing. And
Yeah, so for me, my background is in journalism, went to Ball State. I think something that's helpful, a crossover in the world of journalism and the culinary world, is in journalism you have to learn a lot of things that you had no idea about, and then you have to translate it. Cooking was one of those things, not my original stronghold. And just working with Erik, I feel like I've learned so much about food. So this journey has been so interesting and fun, and I feel like you're just constantly discovering new things. I also am working with our own videography business. I partnered with a friend of mine, Brendan Ryan, and so now we're currently working with our own business. So that's been wonderful. It's called Cardigan and Crow, and we've partnered. Actually, all of our partners are independent, people that are striking it out in the food world. So we've got Great Harvest as one of our partners in Crown
I
Point.
had Katie as a guest last week, and we talked a little bit, and she told me that you do their photography, right, for the website and
Commercials,
and social media.
Yeah, we made our own, we created a tiny set and made the Love Loaf, which was basically a spoof of a 70s dating show where a bread loaf is looking for their bowl mate, which is their bowl of soup.
With lots of puppeted sandwiches and soup cups with,
And,
with googly eyes. Lots of googly
a
eyes.
pickle audience, yeah. So we had a lot of fun with them, and then we're excited to work with Daily Grind, which is a new spot opening kind of near Shoe Corner off of Calumet Avenue in Dyer. So, and they had just had their grand opening yesterday, and it was huge. So, so far in that business also has been, very much so doing culinary photos and videos and just learning more about that world. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Now I'm currently working for the Post Tribune as a freelancer, and obviously being a part of the Traveler and the museum, and then also now Cardin and Crow, the videography and company. So
Yeah, we have lots to keep us busy, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking earlier, so you are originally from Cedar Lake, correct? And how about you?
Originally from around the south side of Chicago, like Evergreen Park, Beverly area. Moved out to Lowell when I was really young and just kind of lived around. Lived mostly in Cedar Lake since then. I've spent some time in other places, like out in Missouri briefly. But yeah, just came back here and to the Cedar Lake area, and that's where we met. We actually first met at the Lighthouse when the Lighthouse first opened back in the day.
Oh,
We were both original hires, and yeah, been together ever since then.
wow. And so what made you decide to settle in Cedar Lake?
well, we were lucky. We were renting, and then the house came up for sale, and we didn't want to move. We wanted to stay where we were at. We were happy. So we ended up, staying after I graduated from Ball State. That was kind of where my landing zone was, because I wanted to be near my family. My grandma at the time needed, some help. So that's kind of where we settled. But it's such a beautiful place that, like, I feel just privileged to have grown up there and now to be a homeowner there. It's just it's a beautiful place and environment that we are so lucky to be a part of.
And you grew up.
Yeah, she's got a lot of roots in
Yeah.
Cedar Lake.
Yeah, so the museum we work at, my grandma was a volunteer there, and she was actually blind, but she was a tour guide, and people wouldn't even know it because she just knew her way around that place like the back of her hand, and I was her little helper. So as I got old enough, she kind of helped raise me, so I would be kind of her partner in crime, her guide dog in a way, and so we would always just go to the museum. I kind of grew up there, and before that, my great-grandmother, Maudina Pittman, she was a maid at the museum when it was
back
a
during its
hotel.
heyday.
Yeah, when it was a hotel. So that's kind of neat that I have my great-grandma Maudina, and then my grandma Dolores Pittman.
The connections go way, way back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cedar Lake, I grew up hearing this story from my family that when I was a toddler, the family had gone, stayed in a cabin in Cedar Lake, so we're talking back in the 70s. And I apparently escaped from the cabin, and of course we're near the water. They're, frantic trying to find me, and finally located me at a playground, like at the very top of a very tall slide, just standing up there waiting for somebody, because I didn't want to go down either way. My dad had to come down and come up and go down the slide with me, but so after that, till I was 12, I'd hear, lock the door so Carrie doesn't get out, because that was their line, because I escaped. Yeah. So that was my
Sounds like you were a leash kid, just like me growing up.
Yeah.
Cedar Lake was very much so a place of feral kids. That's how we were when we grew up.
But I was not old enough to remember it, but our family talked a lot about spending time there during the summers at the cabin. So yeah, so some memories there. And then the last few years have been out there a lot at the museum, and was just there recently, so congratulations on a very successful event. That was, what was that, a week and a half ago I was there
Yeah,
for,
something like that. Yeah, it was.
yeah, it was for your culinary anthropology dinner and a cruise on the Big Dewey. So for those who aren't familiar with the Cedar Lake Historical Association, they have two boats, or the
Yeah, there's two boats. There's Big Dewey, and then the newest boat, well, we used to have another one that was Little Dewey, but we got a bigger boat to accommodate more people for our dinners, and I can't remember what's the name of the new boat. Is it something Dewey? I don't.
It's part of the Dewey
Part of the Dewey line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dewey steamboat line.
Yeah, Julie's gonna be mad at me because I can't remember the name of the boat. But sorry, Julie.
But you can go on a cruise, little boat cruise on Cedar Lake, which is wonderful. And you also do
A 4-course historical meal. So basically with our culinary anthropology program, and especially with the dinner cruise, we have a 4-course meal, and we try to, with each course, have some sort of a tie to local history with each course. And so we're trying to explore history around us with food, because what's a better storyteller than food? It's, one of the only things that we all have in common is we all eat, and food is the great ambassador of every culture. Every culture that you meet, everywhere you go, the first thing that you do when you're on a trip to a new place is you're going to find something to eat, and hopefully you're going to find something to eat that explains the local culture. And that's something that I find fascinating, and I really wanted to, kind of like center that around what we're doing with the museum. We want to make it an exhibit you can eat. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a big historian too. I was real involved with the Lansing Historical Society when I lived in Illinois. And I love that you're taking that food element into it and bringing the food history into the museum.
Yeah, and one of the ways that we found to do that with the culinary anthropology program is, so we created what we call our Lassen's Passport. So basically, like when we first started doing this program, I would kind of just like give a lecture about, the history of each dish and like, how it ties in local history. And I kind of felt like it wasn't the best way to go about it, because first of all, I don't want people's food getting cold while I'm, giving this long-winded explanation of what they're going to be eating. Mm-hmm. So we thought a more interesting and interactive way to do it was give them something they can thumb through and, interact with each other, across the table, so we have a lot of facts and history about each food and its ties to history as, in the local area. And so as you're eating, you can, communicate with the people around you and, thumb through this little passport and be like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know this about this dish. And oh, this is where this comes from. And we thought that was a more palatable way to go about making each dish, an interactive exhibit that you can,
but
share.
you still do come out and
I still give
I
still give a little bit of a like an introductory to each thing that you're going to be eating, but I mostly want people to focus on the dish itself and also interacting with each other at the table.
And in that way too, they kind of become a part of the exhibit. So the cool thing is, Julie was able to get a really great grant to make the dining room at Lassen's Resort really come to life, and she was able to take a lot of historical photos and historical signage and really bring that to life as a center of this room. Because it actually started out, Chris Lassen in the turn of the century had started out as just a dancing pavilion and dining area on the lake, and then he got the Dewey boats, and then they moved that boarding house from across the lake that used to be the Armour Brothers boarding house, moved it to where it is now today and what we know as the Museum at Lassen's Resort. So it really did start off with dancing and food, and the three things that they were advertising like crazy, and there's advertisements from the 20s and 30s you can find, was their steak, chicken, and fish dinners. So our courses, each course, fish, chicken, steak, is basically taking that original concept that people enjoyed 100 years ago and bringing that concept to life in a more modern, elevated way, a more thoughtful way. Instead of steak and potatoes, you get delicious steak tartare and a potato pave. And so you might be trying something you didn't know about before, maybe you aren't going to get a lot of places.
And we really want people to kind of step outside their comfort zone, especially with the steak tartare dish. I know a lot of people, and it was kind of a hard sell with Julie in the museum to do a steak tartare. Everybody was like, "Isn't that raw steak though?" And it's like, yes, but that's the point. One of the things I wanted to teach people is that especially like with steak tartare, like eating raw steak, especially like a whole chunk of steak, is actually safer to eat than a lot of like ground hamburger meat that you would eat.
And that's medium, and that's cooked.
Right.
That's what I heard somebody at our table say. This is safer to eat than romaine lettuce.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we really want people to think critically and really step outside their comfort zone and try something new, something you've never tried before.
That's nice because that's something people probably wouldn't order off of a menu if they went to a restaurant, but then they can try it there and get an introduction as part of the dinner. So it's just such a fascinating history to Cedar Lake and to the area and the resort. And you've been mentioning Julie; she's amazing. So shout out to Julie.
Yeah, General Julie.
Julie Zasada, yeah.
She's the executive director of the Cedar Lake Historical Association and kind of spearheads everything going on at the museum and the boat tours.
Yeah, we couldn't have done any of this without her help.
Well, she had this idea, and so once we got brought into the fold, and it really has just been an exciting collaboration. We're going to continue doing the dinner cruises throughout the seasons. We are still figuring out when the next one will be, but anyone interested, please follow the museum at Laston's Resort. They're very active in posting events and things like that, and so we do have some coming up. We have our speakeasy that's coming up here in
That looks like so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last year, and I'm really looking forward to this one this year.
Yeah, and that's gonna be September 15th or 14th.
I think she said the 12th. I got changed to the 12th. I do believe. Now we gotta pull out our phones to make sure we're giving the right information.
No, let me just look at the text. September 12th.
Okay.
So it's gonna be the speakeasy. So it's gonna be collaboration with Erik and another local chef, and making some interesting Italian dishes. So that's great on the calendar. And then we're gonna be having some fall festivities too. So.
Yeah, we got our Flavors of Fall, the second annual Flavors of Fall.
So that's gonna be the last weekend of September.
That is a very cool event. I attended that last year and I was a judge.
That's
It was
right.
so fun. There was a pumpkin pie contest, so.
We're gonna do it again. We're gonna try to revive it, but we're gonna expand next year. Especially, we have a lineup of local folks that we're gonna work with. Smoke Freaks is a really awesome husband and wife team that live out in Cedar Lake, and they actually run rib camps.
And they're also the current world champions of ribs, for making ribs. They
They popped up in my feed the other day.
Yeah, they recently won the world championship down in Texas.
Oh,
Yeah, that was in March, and I found out because I wrote an article about them, and I was once I learned, reached out, wrote this article, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so we're gonna partner with them, another person who's a baker that has a bakery out in Kirkland, Indiana. We're gonna partner with Edifon Farms and some interesting things they have growing, and they're out in the Cedar Lake Crown Point area.
Yeah, and I have an old friend who's a mycologist now out in Michigan, who has a very successful mushroom farm, and I'm hoping to work with him soon to create an all mushroom dinner, and so we can explore the history of mushrooms and why they're so important to all of our lives.
Yeah, maybe 3 years in a row, I went out to Galena, Illinois, for morel season.
Oh yeah.
And at one of the resorts there, they would have dinners and everything. 5-6 courses, and everything was utilized morels. And so even dessert, you'd have.
Oh, yeah.
Morel dusted on, like creme brulee, and, yeah, it's amazing how versatile they are.
It's amazing what you can do with mushrooms, and
Mhm.
actually, I'm really looking forward to the dessert aspect. It's funny that you brought that up, because I've been kind of struggling with like, what am I going to do for a dessert? But I've been talking with some people, and like I found some really interesting and creative things, and delicious things that you can do with mushrooms when it comes to a dessert. So I'm really looking forward to that one in particular. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be. We have so much going on right now. It probably won't be until next season, unfortunately, but just gives me more time to plan. So
Right. Now, you just mentioned the award-winning rib couple. Your culinary anthropology program is award-winning as well.
yeah,
isn't it?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, we won an award through the state, through the
Indiana Historical Society, I believe.
yeah.
And I
That was
think
for
that
our
was,
it was for our Potawatomi dinner event.
yeah, so that was last year. And we partnered with some folks in doing that to create like a more, something that is paying homage to the Potawatomi people. We're the first people who had settled Cedar Lake and
A lot of Northwest Indiana and just this area and
cultivated it and whatnot. So we learned so much about them. We worked with a professor, and we also are doing some more collaborations down the road with some people that are of the Potawatomi Nation that live out in Michigan. But that was, I believe the award was like for best project or best event. And Julie said that, when they were judging it, they're like, wow, this was amazing. It was a no-brainer. Like,
yeah, we blew it out of the water with that one, and so happy for it. That was a big honor for us.
Yeah, and that was awarded to you at the Flavor of the Fall last year that I was in.
Yeah.
And you have your soup title.
Oh yeah, that's right. I also won that. Well, not this year, but for 2004, I was the
2024.
Yeah, 2024. Sorry. Yeah, I was the soup king of Northwest Indiana. That's why I like to call myself. But no, so every year on Northwest Indiana, at the
Super Bowl with the food bank.
the food bank of
Nice.
Northwest Indiana, they hold the Super Bowl. They hold it on like the same weekend as the actual Super Bowl.
Oh, I gotta get to this event next year.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's huge.
But
There's like what? More
there's
than 50 contestants.
Yeah, and like basically, so like a lot of chefs from all over the area. They all compete. Making it not just chefs, but even anybody can join.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of chefs that join into it, and so everybody just makes batches of soup, and everybody gets to try samples of each one, and they all vote on their favorite. And this was the first time that I had entered into it, and I won.
Wow.
And I was so excited, was not expecting it, but I'm super grateful for it. It was an amazing experience, and I hope to do it again this year.
Yeah, I have no doubt, because I've had your soup at Flavors of Fall. I think you did three
Yeah, I
different
did
soups.
three soups.
remember
I think I did a beer cheese soup, chicken and dumpling, and
Butternut squash.
oh yes, and butternut
Oh,
squash.
Yeah, those were all amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where is that event held, this Super Bowl?
Oh, it is at the Food Bank of Northwest Indiana in Maryville.
Okay.
Basically, they kind of like clear out part of their distribution house and turn it
Okay.
into just a soup feast.
Yeah, and all the proceeds go to charity. It goes to a great cause. For helping to feed people. So it's really a great event.
Well, congratulations, and I'm expecting a repeat, because you're
Yeah, you want
definitely a soup master.
He went
Yeah.
with the chicken tortilla soup, and people it was so amazing. Like, there's little old ladies coming up and be like, "What's your recipe?"
Yeah, I had
Like,
little grandmas coming up to me asking for my recipe, which I was happy to share. I'm definitely not a gatekeeper of information by any means.
well, it felt like an honor because
Yeah.
like you see them as being the ultimate cooks, and if they're coming to you to
Yeah.
ask for a recipe, that's huge
Yeah,
compliment.
they have somebody's grandma coming up asking me how to make a soup. Like, that is a great feeling. That's an honor.
Yeah,
It's definitely gratifying and makes you think that you're doing something right.
yeah,
So
wow. So tell me a little bit how you got involved with the Cedar Lake Historical Association. I know you had ties there from childhood, but how did the partnership come about with you, like catering their events and doing these special?
Yeah, well,
events?
honestly, it all started with Anna for the most part. We've been going to the museum like for years. We've been kind of associated with, just because of her grandma was a big part of the museum, and we would help her grandma. And so we knew Julie before we started with any of this, and Julie really was one that started this program, and she was looking for a chef, and she knew that I was a chef just from us being at the museum. And one day she just out of the blue asked us if we would like to help with this new project that she had in mind. So we were like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Let's give it a go. And so we started collaborating, started really laying down the groundwork, and think about how are we going to build this, and how is this going to look like. And the first year that we did it, we only did I think like 2 dinners, and really it was just kind of like more so like a proving stage for like like a proof of concept. Proof of concept. And once we figured out, yeah, we can make this work, then the next season, that's when we really started, going full force at it. And it made it even bigger. And this is technically our 3rd year now doing it. And we're trying to make it, more like bigger than ever, trying to really elevate the food more, trying to get more people involved, trying to improve how we integrate history into the whole thing, because that's what it's all about. It's it's all about the history of not just food, but local culture and tradition. It really all started with Anna and Julie, and I was just lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, we just put you to work.
Yeah, it's an amazing partnership. I love what you're doing, and I was at another event of yours earlier this year was that at BFW or American Legion?
Yes.
That was kind of a taste of.
It was at the Eagles, wasn't it?
That was our encore. So that was like looking back at 2024. We couldn't do it at the museum because it was freezing. There's no centralized cooling or heat. But we had it over there during the winter, and it was like an encore.
Yeah,
we brought
a great way to get a little sampling and kind of get a feel for what you do at your full-on dinners.
Yeah, so just wanted to like brush people up and just remind people like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. So if you'd like to join us for just a little encore celebration of it.
So much of the dinner, the menu is focused on going all the way back to when it was inhabited by Potawatomi Indians. So kind of walk us through your full menu for these dinners and tell us a little bit about how each dish correlates to the history of the area.
Right, so the first course that we give you is our Mastodon Lollipop, and that one is more so a visual representation of the mastodon. Like if you've ever been to the museum at Lassen's, you know of the mastodon bone, the big mastodon bone that we have. We have one of the first exhibits that you go into in the gallery is you see, it talks about going back all the way to the Ice Age and how they found a mastodon skeleton in the lake just north of Cedar Lake, right off of Parrish. And they have that in the gallery now. And so that was the first dish that I really wanted people to see, and more so it's kind of like a very visual celebration of it, because the way I prepare this chicken leg, you're basically getting a chicken leg, and I prepared it in such a way, it's almost like a cartoonish way of presenting it. Yeah, it's like when I first was developing this, I was like, I want it to look like something that Fred Flintstone would eat, like in the cartoons you always see him, like whenever he's eating, like just a big old, leg of something with the exposed bone. And we have it laying in a bed of herbs, so we want that to represent kind of like the swamp that it was found in,
Okay.
So
a lot of thought goes behind each.
Yeah, we try to put a lot of thought into it. And then the next course is the potato pave and steak tartare. That one more so is paying homage to Tobes, but also just a lot of like the steak and potato culture in Northwest Indiana and just like the Midwest in general. We wanted to take the idea of, especially like at Tobes, you know, everything like they were.
Well, and to explain to people that don't know, Tobe
Right.
Steak was a steakhouse that used to be where the lighthouse currently is.
Oh, okay.
And it was just this tiny tavern. I literally lived down the street from it. There was just this tiny tavern, and literally there'd be lines out the door. It was just surrounded by people, especially on weekends, because people would be waiting hours to get in there. So it was one of those like little gems for a long time that a lot of people remembered Tobe Steakhouse.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people describe it as a very, you know, steak and potatoes kind of place, and that's.
But
why-
they did it really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's really kind of the theme I wanted to run with that is, you know, pay homage to the steak and potatoes culture, but like, I want to show people what you can do with that, because a lot of people, nobody has ever tried, you know, steak tartare with a potato pave. So I wanted to take things that people were familiar with and really like elevate it to a point that they've never experienced, at least around here.
And that potato, that had to be like very labor intensive because it was just
Oh,
thin
yes.
layers.
Yes, very thin
potato.
layers.
Oh.
Yeah, that took me quite a while to do, but it turned out great. It was delicious, and the tartare wasn't too bad. It didn't take too long. I had we have someone helping us. His name is Matt Stewart. He's a local chef, and you know, he was helping me during the entire event, and he actually helped me create that dish. So shout out to Matt. He did a great job. And then we get to the Three Sisters wild rice and tilapia that we served. And that really is paying homage to the Potawatomis. That was one of the dishes that we, kind of one of the dishes that we did at the Potawatomi dinner event. It was similar, but I tweaked it a little for the dinner event. So that is paying homage to basically the Potawatomis and their philosophy behind, you know, cultivating their food. Basically, it was called the Three Sisters. You know, you have corn, beans, and squash. They would, you know, grow them all together because each plant would help the other one. Like the corn would grow tall for the beans to grow up around on the stalks, and then the leaves from the beans would help give shade to the squash. So it really, you know, shows like cooperation and cultivation.
Right.
And I really love that idea, and I think it's something a lot that is kind of lost in, you know, the way we currently cultivate food, and just the way the Potawatomi viewed their food, and just the respect that they had for the nature around them was like so admirable. I really wish more people, you know, thought like that.
That Three Sisters garden, I learned about that a while ago from
Yeah.
my master gardener friend Paul Schultz.
So
that I was familiar with, and before you move on, we gotta talk a little bit more about, I love that wild rice dish, because I'm a huge fan of lima beans, which I was the only one in my family that liked, and my siblings called them slima beans and wouldn't eat them, so there's always more for me. But I could count on one hand the times I come across lima beans on a menu at a restaurant, and nobody ever serves those. So the first time I had that, I was like, oh, there's lima beans in this.
Yeah.
I was so excited, and it's just such a good hearty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great
That,
dish.
like that is probably one like my favorite thing of the entire menu is that just the wild rice part itself. So it's wild rice, quinoa, golden hominy, lima beans, squash and zucchini, seasoned with some harissa spice and some parsley, garlic, shallot, and lemon juice, and that's basically it.
And it's a different kind of wild rice than normally you get in the store, though, that you,
Well, it's wild rice, which the Potawatomi would call monoman,
Okay.
meaning the good seed. And it was a staple of their whole culture. You know, that's mostly what they ate.
Well, and that's what Cedar Lake was back in, you know, a lot of it was wild rice, you know, along the more shallow areas. And so it was a big community thing, you know, going out there and gathering it. And they would always leave, they would just take, you know, what they need, and they would leave enough for, you know, the animals, the bugs, and then also for the plant to propagate. Just another example, that's something that we learned from a visiting group from the Potawatomi people that live out in Michigan. And so they're gonna help us work with maybe recreating some of those things in the museum and having a garden.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, we got one more course to get to.
Yeah, the dessert. We call that one our icebreaker. That one's paying homage to the icebreaker or the ice harvesting operation that Cedar Lake was known for back in the day. Basically, so Cedar Lake provided a lot of the ice for the stockyards in Chicago, way back before like we had modern refrigeration, you know.
And there was a railroad that ran right along there.
Yep, the Monon Railroad would transport ice right up to the stockyards. And so Cedar Lake was a huge part of that, you know. Each year, you know, workers from Chicago, the Chicago stockyards, and even, you know, the local workforce was tasked with harvesting ice on the Cedar Lake and shipping it up there. So that's what we wanted to really encapsulate with this dish. So it's basically 2 Norwegian rosette cookie cups, it's basically kind of like, so you take like a funnel cake batter, and you have like these metal irons, these molds on a metal stick. And so you get the irons hot in the oil. You take them out of the oil and you dip them into this batter, and it forms like a shell around the iron, and then you put it back in the fryer, and it creates like these little cups. And that is like in a lot of cultures, but the Norwegians called them rosettes, rosette cookies. So I'm partially Norwegian, and that's something I wanted to, bring out from my heritage. So we take these 2 cups and we fill them with chocolate mousse and berries, and then we dust it with powdered sugar and some edible glitter just to make it look more so like it's like a chunk of ice, and then we put a white chocolate anchor right on top of it. And so the idea is that, you know, you would take it and you take like your spoon, or we even gave like a little, you know, ice pick for people to like kind of help break it apart. Yeah, so you just break it apart and just kind of go to town on it.
Yeah, so it was so cool, just the theme and how it played into everything you served.
Yeah.
I loved it, yeah. And then after you're done, you go out on the lake and the sun's going down, and it's, perfect night. So.
Yeah, I thought everything went perfect that day. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
We try to we wanted to create like an experience that's different than anything else you get out in the area, and really make something that stands out. I think people think that sometimes they have to go to Chicago maybe for like finer food or maybe interesting food or something like that. And we really want to flip that script and show people, well, this, A, you can get it right here, and B, it's something that everyone can enjoy and be a part of. You don't have to sit down and spend $1,000 in Chicago for one meal.
Right, yeah, it's a wonderful food scene in Northwest Indiana. I'm just gonna see if I can shoo that fly out of here, because
I saw,
it's very distracting, isn't it?
Yeah, shoot fly.
He's like,
Oh, come on. If you stay up there, you're fine, but you're bothering us. Where we go?
Is he trying to hide?
Get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Where'd he go?
What a troublemaker. It's at the end of the
Here, help me
light.
smack him. Where'd he go?
He's behind. Come on, guy.
Go
Literally,
out. Go that way. Go.
Keep going.
Where is he?
He's above you.
I'm gonna have to go back and edit this video. Oh, almost. Oh gosh.
Oh.
Oh.
Get him.
Wow.
Yay.
He evaded
Okay.
death
Oh my gosh,
by a
yeah.
very thin margin. That was a lucky day of that fly.
Yeah. Oh, wow, okay. Take a break for a sec. All right.
What a harrowing journey.
It was kind of fun.
Okay, so we're at about 38 minutes, so we got about 19 or so minutes to go. So, let's see.
Would there be time for a quick bathroom
Oh,
break?
sure. Go ahead. Let's stop this.